Freemasonry. You've heard the name, right? It just conjures up these images of smoke-filled rooms, secret handshakes, and, some hidden hand guiding the world's biggest events. But how much of that is just Hollywood fantasy? And what's the real story? Well, today, we're going to peel back all those layers of myth and find the truth that's been hiding in plain sight. Let's start with the biggest question of all. It's the ultimate conspiracy question, isn't it? And for centuries, one group has been at the very center of all that speculation, more than anyone else, the Freemasons. And you know what? When you look at who is actually in the club, it's not hard to see why.
I mean, just look at this roster. You've got George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, Winston Churchill. We're talking founding fathers, presidents, prime ministers, Supreme Court justices, and the absolute giants of the Enlightenment. With a lineup like that, the idea of a secret society pulling all the strings doesn't just seem possible. It feels, well, almost obvious, right? So was it all part of some grand master plan?
And that leads us to the biggest accusation of them all, that Freemasonry is really just a vehicle for a secret global agenda. The myth of the hidden hand. But what if the conspiracy theorists have been looking at this completely backward the whole time?
This is where the whole conspiracy theory gets flipped right on its head. The myth is that joining the Masons gave these men their power, but the reality, they were already powerful. They joined because Masonry offered them something they couldn't get anywhere else, a private, trusted network. It was basically the original social network for the global elite. Think of it like a pre-internet LinkedIn for revolutionaries and world leaders.
I mean, think about it. We're talking about an era with no secure way to communicate. A Masonic lodge was a safe space. You could debate really radical ideas, you could form alliances, and you could build trust with other influential people, all away from the prying eyes of kings and governments. So it wasn't really about a secret plot. It was about having a secure room to talk.
Okay, so if they weren't hiding some grand plan for world domination, then what were all the secrets about? The secret handshakes, the weird symbols, the closed doors. What was really going on in there?
And this is the part where the big, shadowy legend crashes into a much more mundane reality. The whole mystique, the whole thing is built on a simple misunderstanding of what the Masons actually thought of as a secret.
The truth is, their secrets were way more practical than conspiratorial. First up, you have modes of recognition, things like handshakes and special phrases. These were basically just an ID card, a way for a Mason to prove he was legit when he showed up in a new town. Second, the private rituals. Now these were less about dark magic and more like philosophical theater plays designed to teach moral lessons. And third, their internal business. We're talking lodge elections, meeting minutes. I mean, come on, that's hardly the stuff of global intrigue.
All right, so with all those conspiracy myths kind of cleared away, what are we actually left with? Let's build this back up from the ground up and look at what Freemasonry really is.
It all started with actual stonemasons, like the guys who physically built the great cathedrals of Europe. But as the need for cathedral builders started to fade, these guilds kind of evolved. They went from being a trade union to a philosophical society. They kept the tools of the trade, but they gave them a whole new symbolic purpose: building better men.
And you can see this whole philosophy in their most famous symbols. So take the square. For a real stonemason, it's a tool to make sure you've got a perfect right angle. Simple enough. But for a Freemason, it becomes this powerful moral reminder to be square in your dealings with everyone, to be just and honest.
Then you've got the compass, which is used to draw a perfect circle. Symbolically, it's all about drawing a boundary, a circle around your own desires and passions. It's a physical reminder of the need for self-control and moderation in your life.
But maybe their most radical idea for the time is shown with the level. It's a tool to make sure a surface is perfectly flat. For them, it became a symbol that all men meet on the level, that everyone is equal no matter how rich or powerful they are. Think about that. In the 1700s, that was an absolutely mind-blowing, revolutionary idea.
And here it is. Here's the killer blow to that whole one-world government theory. There's no Masonic boat. There's no central headquarters. The organization is actually fractured into all these independent grand lodges for each state or country. And you know what? Historically, they often disagree fiercely with each other. It's kind of hard to pull off a unified global plot when you can't even agree on what's for lunch.
So, you might be asking yourself, if the reality is more about philosophy and charity work, why have these crazy conspiracy theories been so incredibly persistent for over 300 years?
Well, this is a big reason why. It is a fact that a ton of revolutionaries were Masons, but this isn't a case of causation, it's correlation. The lodges didn't plan the revolutions, but they were the perfect breeding ground, a safe space where the ideas of the Enlightenment, liberty, equality, free thought, could be talked about safely. So naturally, the people who believed in those ideas flocked there.
Ultimately, Freemasonry just had the perfect recipe for a conspiracy theory. You start with secrecy, which of course makes people assume you're hiding something sinister. Then you add a guest list of famous, powerful members, making people assume it's some kind of shadow government. Then you mix in some strange, mysterious symbols that people interpret as occult. And finally, you have exclusion. It's a private club. It's really no wonder people thought they were plotting against them.
So what does all this mean for today? Is there some secret Masonic cabal running things right now? Well, the evidence points to a pretty clear and simple answer. A big fat no. The golden age of Masonic political influence is long, long over. Today, the organization is a fascinating echo of what it used to be. It's way less of a kingmaker, and a lot more like a combination of a history club, a charitable foundation, and a social network for its members, who, let's be honest, are often older businessmen.
I mean, just look at the contrast. The myth is these hooded figures plotting world domination in secret. The reality? The main activities of most lodges today are things like funding scholarships, running food banks, and donating to local hospitals. It's a bit of a step down, to say the least.
So, in the end, the Freemasons are not the secret rulers of the world. They're a relic, really, a fascinating piece of history from a totally different era. But their legacy, built on secrecy and power and revolution, was so powerful that it created myths that will probably outlive the organization itself.